Well, everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey, everybody, Cantonese Cat here. 10 stocks that I've been requested to talk about on YouTube. There are a lot of these members. They support me. They have a member subscription, and a lot of them have requested charts here, and I have the capacity this week, so just go through them as much as I can. The top 10, I think people might be interested. I'm going to go through them here. BlackBerry. Why are people interested in BlackBerry? Was because it's got a big giant green candle here for the month of December. They're wondering whether or not this represents a trend change for the longer term, because it's been doing nothing but lower highs and lower lows for about 4 or 5 years now. The way to kind of look at that is to look at the 20-month moving average, which is going to be showing up here on the monthly here on the Bollinger Band. You can see the 20 was negatively slipping as resistance here, and right now we might be in closing the month above the 20-month moving average. 20-month moving average may be turning flat here a little bit, so you might have a little bit of character change here, although I have yet to really see a true higher high being formed quite just yet. So I'm not sure about the trend change, but it certainly looked like this downtrend may potentially be decelerating. If you also look at the RSI here as well, you can kind of see that it's not really like a clear bullish divergence, but you can kind of see that the downtrend seems to be a little bit decelerating. You look at the weekly here, there is a pretty strong bullish divergence that's been building on the weekly for a few years now, right? So maybe it's just kind of playing out, but right now you're also running into a lot of bearish divergence where prices try and push up, but you're having RSI kind of a little bit overheated compared to what it was before. So you're going to have a little bit more of like bearish momentum. They're going to come. It's hard to say how far this move's going to go, because you did break above the Tenkan here, right? You did break above the Tenkan here back in May of 2023, but it just wasn't really sustained. And now you are getting a little bit closer to the Kijun, which gives you a little bit more of a chance here. Here you can see how far it was from the Kijun. Here you're getting really close to the Kijun. That's going to serve as resistance, but it's also going to tell you that, hey, we're getting closer to challenging it. So there might be a little bit better chance for a trend change here compared to here back in May of 2023. There are some pretty positive things that are kind of building up here, right? The only thing is I can see if it ends up pushing above the 0.236 level, and if it ends up breaking above the Kijun over here, you're at a pretty strong resistance level, right? If you're able to break above the Kijun here, if you ever break above the 0.236 level here convincingly over the next month or two, then you're talking about hitting the 0.382 level up here around 5.56, and that's going to be a very, 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 very strong resistance, because it got rejected over here in the past, because that's where the Supaichi Kijun is located, because that's where the monthly Bollinger Band is located. So that's probably going to be your upside risk here. Now, downside risk, you might get rejected here, and the next logical level for it to hold is going to be the 0.136, right? So downside, you're talking about maybe $3, 2.9. Upside, you're talking about maybe like 5.5, 5.6. Somewhere around there is probably where I'm going to look at up and down. We are overextended here on the weekly, right? So make no mistake about it, there's a potential for it to kind of correct down further. And it might just kind of stay up here for a little bit and push up to 0.382. I don't think anybody really knows what's going to do. It depends on whether or not we have enough energy to kind of push through. The one way to look at that was look at volume. Certainly looks like this big giant up here was with increasing volume, but I don't know whether or not the volume is going to end up sustaining. So far this week has only been a day. It's a short week. If it ends up having sustained volume to push through, then you could get to 0.382 here in a hurry, and that's going to probably be where a lot of people are end up getting they're going to get out. That's probably what's going to happen if they don't already try to get out around here. So we'll see what happens when it gets there, if it gets there anytime soon. I was asked to look at Adobe, and the question about Adobe is whether or not we have bottomed. And the answer is it's always hard to kind of try to time the bottom, right? So I'm going to look at a few things here. One is to look at the volume. Is the volume supporting that we could have capitulation volume that get a bottom? Maybe, right? Here you have, in 2022, you have a capitulation volume here increasing, right? Here in 2024, early 2024, you have some capitulation volume here. And in December 2024, you also have some capitulation volume over here, right? All of these volumes are basically saying, they're trying to exhaust the sellers throughout the entire process. And right now, the scan level over here, I did draw from the monthly here, 720 and 100, and I use the bottom over here around 1987. And what you end up seeing here is it does follow the market symmetry here pretty decently, right? This arc here means something. This arc here, for some reason, it wasn't, but the horizontal line over here meant something. It was able to break the angle from resistance here to support, but right now we broke up down underneath the angle here. You can see how the angle was back tested as support, and then we pushed through, and then it just kind of broke down. And we found support here perfectly at the arc, right? And went back up here trying to back test the angle here. It wasn't able to hold, and it was just been bouncing off of this horizontal line. Now, generally, I don't like this, like, you know, bouncy ball kind of thing. If it bounces up and it makes another, like, lower high here, then I worry about it falling through the floor, right? But so far, this could be a very, very strong support. If it ends up, you know, pushing up and challenging the angle up here over in 2025, then I think you're up in the clear, right? But if you ask me whether or not we're bottom, we could have very well bottomed. Another reason why I think that is because if you look at a monthly Ichimoku, whenever it ends up pulling up here, you look at a monthly Ichimoku, all it's really doing is it pushes through the Ichimoku here, back tested once and back tested twice. It hit the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud here perfectly with this wick, you know. So I think that there's a good possibility that we're probably at bottom. I think buying here is definitely going to be a lot better than buying at resistance here at the angle. Could it break down, fall down further? Sure it can. Anything can happen. But I also think that we're hitting the low Bollinger Band here, you know, pretty soon. So I'm just not sure whether or not we're going to go that much further anymore at this point. To me, I think the risk-reward ratio is pretty decent. On top of that, you also have the 0.382 FIB level, right? So a lot of confluent zone over here. Again, level 0.382, Ichimoku cloud, and getting close to the low Bollinger Band here. I think it's going to be fine. I don't like the fact that it broke underneath the 20-month moving average. It's trying to backtest. It's not able to break back through here. But it's also still positive sloping, so I still think it has a chance to do that. Yeah, Adobe, I feel okay about it. I feel okay about it. If you ask me whether or not it's bottom, I'll say like 75-80% chance it's bottom. If not, then it's going to go down to the 0.236 level here around $375. I think that's going to be a risk level down below. But there are multiple things here telling me that, hey, I think it's probably at bottom. No guarantees, right? The other stock is Lemonade. If you're talking about Lemonade has gone through some pretty parabolic move here over the last couple of months, and it hit the 0.236 here, got rejected off it almost perfectly. It's coming back down. It's trying to catch a break here after this big giant volume on the way up, right? Trying to catch a break here. Where is it trying to find support here so far? Well, you do have support down here at the 0.136, and you do have support down here at the Tenkan and Kijun, right? On the monthly here, you can see that pretty clearly. On the weekly here, that also is right there too, right? So it can very well fall down to like around $35, $34, somewhere around there, and there'll be a ton of support down there below. And currently, it's finding support is basically just wanting to touch the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly. It's just simply way overextended away from the upper Bollinger Band. If you're about the top right here at resistance, you've probably been doing it wrong. The way to really try to buy this, if you really want to buy this, I'm not buying this, but if you want to buy this, is to wait for upper Bollinger Band to at least touch, right? If not getting to the next FIB level down below for a little bit of a correction, which is probably warranted after this big giant parabolic move upwards. Yeah, lots of support down below, and I think if it's able to find support down below here, then you're talking about some higher prices up above. But this process can take a couple months or even a few months sometimes. Just letting you know, like after a big giant parabolic move like this, you do need time to kind of digest, and I think it's probably going to need some time to form a little bit of a higher low here before further, bullish continuation. It can even wait for so long for the 20-month moving average to curl up before pushing it up, right? So if you're going to buy, the area of time is not up here. The area to buy is to try to be a little bit more patient, see how things settle down here. I could be wrong. Maybe January it just touches up a Bollinger Band, it just shoots up to 0.382, which is also entirely possible. But that I think it's getting closer and closer to a lot of really strong support zone down here below. So I think it's the risk-reward ratio is getting better and better, if you will. The only issue is it could end up taking some time before pushing up, and I just don't know how long it's going to take. That's Lemonade. The Celsius, I was asked about Celsius, and I am interested in this stock, but I'm not interested in here yet at this particular level. There are two reasons to why that is. One is because it's still, well, there are multiple reasons. One is still a downtrend, and there's still a falling knife. the lower Bollinger Band is expanding to the downside. There's still a potential for it to hit the lower Bollinger Band. And I just don't know if it's going to do that or not, right? Even if it makes a little bit of higher high here, lower high here, it could still end up going down and hit the lower Bollinger Band, right? And also, it just looks like it wants to touch the monthly cloud, and even after it touches the monthly cloud, it might not stop there. You might want to get inside the cloud and even to the bottom of the cloud. There's always that possibility, right? It looks like it's got momentum to kind of push down to the downside here, and I don't want to bet against this downward momentum. You're about to have a bearish cross up here. There's just a lot of things, like the 20-month moving average is curling from positive sloping here to flat, right? A lot of momentum has been lost here on the monthly. On the weekly, you're also talking about that we are getting rejected here at the bottom support band, right? We broke down underneath of it, and we're testing it from the underside. There's no guarantee that this is going to pass. It does have a little bit more on the weekly time frame here. It does have a little bit more of a decent kind of look to it. Looks like it wants to bottom, but there's no guarantee we end up getting rejected here, and we could end up making another lower low, right? I'm not seeing that much bullish divergence here, even on the weekly. On the monthly, there's no bullish divergence here at all, right? So I'm not seeing enough confirmation for me to really want to enter in at this point. The only thing I have is capitulation volume, but it can end up keep on capitulating if the bears are like a little bit tired, but they're not the entire, they're not too tired. It can keep going down. I am not ready to get into this. Now, if it enters the Ichimoku cloud, it gets down to like the mid 20s or low 20s, I might dabble in it with the understanding it can hit the bottom of the cloud, with the understanding it can hit the bottom of the lower Bollinger Band here. But I would like to, but I'm not going to get into this. I would like to see at least some sign of some bullish divergence here on a higher time frame of the monthly or at least a weekly. I would like to see some proof of a little bit of a higher low, on a higher time frame here. I've yet to really see any of those things except for maybe a little bit of a higher low here, but there's no guarantee it can still be a lower low, right? So yeah, I'm very cautious about Celsius here. The other way to look at this to see whether or not Celsius is potentially bottoming is, let me look at it real quick. So I did end up drawing a Gann chart here, and the way I did it was 360 and 1 from the low pivot over here in 2011. You can see it does give some pretty decent market symmetry here. The issue is it's actually really beautiful, right? The arcs are being followed perfectly, right? Can reject it up here, support it here, push through, support. Now we got rejected here at the angle. We didn't really quite make it to this arc up here, and we end up just plummeting it down here. And so far, we've just been slipping down to this arc, right? That's what I'm saying. I think that there's an entire possibility it could touch the arc somewhere here around Q1 or Q2 2025, and you might end up finding the bottom here, somewhere down here. But there's not yet any decent support here to really want me to really enter into Celsius right now in this particular time. I'm gonna be keeping it on my watch list. I'm gonna wait. All right, Rocket Lab. What is going on with Rocket Lab? Well, Rocket Lab is actually rocketing, but it's rocketing so hard and so fast that it needed to cool down. And when it needs to cool down, where does it generally want to gravitate to? Well, if it's way outside the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly, it wants to gravitate down to the upper Bollinger Band here, but it looks like it didn't really quite get there, did it, in the month of December? I don't think it's going to get there in December. It's probably going to end up keep on expanding, and I think in January we might end up touching it, and that's going to be a little bit of a magnet before price just continue to kind of shoot up. We are finding support. Why are we touching it right now? Because we are finding support at the 1.236. Are we going to end up keep on finding support at the 1.236 here? I don't know. If you look at the weekly, actually end up breaking down underneath of this, but you do have a lot of demand down here. A lot of people are buying here in the low 20s. So there's a possibility to just kind of keep on consolidating sideways over here for another few weeks before pushing up a lot higher, or it could go down, correct through price, wait for the Bollinger support band to kind of catch up, maybe even go that down to like the high teens, back test that and go higher. I don't think this trend is over. I think this is a very parabolic bull trend, and I think that it probably needs some correction where it's at right now, because you have months number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight up way outside the upper Bollinger Band. The lower Bollinger Band is still expanding to the downside, so I don't think this bull trend is over yet. At least have another leg up, but it might end up needing some additional correction here before it does that. It's got a Ichimoku katana here. I think the katana is probably also going to end up getting expanding. What I mean by katana is that the Tenkan Nikijin red and blue line over here fused, telling you that a big powerful bull trend or big powerful move is going to happen. It was to the upside, right? And right now the Tenkan Nikijin are serving as support all the way down here around like 16. It doesn't necessarily have to come down. I think at some point the Tenkan is going to end up spreading away from the Kijin, and the blue line is going to serve as additional support here too over the coming months. So yeah, Rocket Lab is rocketing. It's just simply way too far, way too fast. And it's hitting some pretty important resistance level, right? Got really close to 1.414 here, and it's just cooling off. That's all. There's nothing really to be scared about it. With exception if you end up buying all the way above the upper Bollinger Band here, then that's probably not the right way to do it. And if you want to get in right now, you probably should wait for some support levels down here to be met. And I can totally see the potential risk level. I can totally see it even come back down here to 0.786 around $17, right? It doesn't have to. It's consolidating. There's demand here. We'll see how it reacts. That's your downside risk, 17.5. Upside risk is, it can hit the $32.38 around 1.618. That's going to be a pretty strong resistance level. So you're just kind of stuck somewhere in the middle here. I probably would, like, if I was in this, I'd probably end up just holding through. I wouldn't buy, I wouldn't sell right now. That's kind of how I look into Rocket Lab here. OKTA OKTA was a stock that was pretty hot. I think in 2023, a lot of people got excited about it, but simply just haven't really had the expansion of the Bollinger Band. Got rejected here, but Bollinger Band came back down. Right now, we're getting rejected here at a flattening 20-month moving average, which is fine. See whether or not it would continue to just end up staying flat here, or if we end up pushing through. The big giant wick over here tells us that it's not ready yet. There's in the volume here to try to push through that though, right? Looking at the monthly Ichimoku cloud, you can also see that we had a resistance zone over here with the Tenkan negatively sloping. That's also part of the reason why you end up getting rejected here. But you're trying to reclaim the Kijin from resistance here to support. So stuck in a range right now. We'll see how it goes. You look a little bit at like a lower time frame here. You can see that it's trying to reclaim the Bollinger support band. So there's a little bit of lower time frame repair, but still underneath the Ichimoku is still stuck in the range here on the Tenkan Kijin, right? Not much is probably going to happen anytime soon. It's probably going to end up getting stuck here for a little while its technicals are going to try to figure things out here. It's been a little bit range bound here for a very long time. So yeah, there's I really think that looking at the monthly Bollinger Band, it needs to push above and maybe backtest here a little bit before going further. I can totally see maybe sometime around Q1 because of increased volume. I can totally see somewhere around Q1 for price to just kind of push to the upper Bollinger Band here to like 100, 103, 100, 105, somewhere out here. I can totally see that sometime over here, and I don't know how it's going to react when it gets up there, but I can totally see that, and that could potentially be a good trade, but because it has resistance right now, I can't really recommend that trade, If you are looking at some of the fib levels, let me go ahead and take a look at the fib levels from top to down here. And for this one, I'm going to do a little bit more of like a log fib here. You can see it got rejected here, 0.382 almost perfectly, right? Kind of like how it got rejected here and here. So yeah, so far you're at resistance. I don't know. I'm going to be a little bit more cautious here. One thing to look at is still forming higher highs and higher lows. So that's why I'm saying I think there's a good chance for it to hit maybe 100, and then we'll see how it reacts from there. I think it's okay to buy down here if it gets down to like the 70s, but I probably would not buy at resistance right now. That's just not my style. It doesn't mean that it's a bad stock. It's just that, the risk-reward ratio is not something that I'm okay with doing right now. If you're looking also at the SMAs here, the simple moving averages, you can see how it's been finding support here at our support band and also find support here at the 100, right? But simply gets stuck in the 50. Like everything is telling me that the stock is stuck in a range. So if it's stuck in a range, it can go up, it can go down. I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm sorry. I wish I could be more helpful. Higher time frame though, I think it's forming higher highs and higher lows. I think it's gonna break out at some point, but I just don't know what's gonna happen over the next few months. If I'm interested in this, if it gets down to the 70s, I would probably buy. All right. Next up is EOSE. I just remember this stock was following the Ichimoku very, very nicely here on the weekly. It basically just, got rejected here. The Ichimoku came back tested Tenkan Kijun, was able to push through, got rejected at the top of the Ichimoku, came back down to the Kijun, found support. It looks like it just pushed through the Ichimoku now on high volume. Could it come back down at some point and back test the Ichimoku? Maybe, maybe not. It's channeling up right now, and I like the fact that it's not really overextended here on the monthly. On the weekly, it's a little bit overextended. You can see how the weekly candle is like way outside the upper Bollinger Band, so not ideal, but hey, it's not something that's really that scary. It could come back down a little bit lower to kind of touch the little upper Bollinger Band before further bullish continuation. I just like the fact there's a lot of volume here to get in, right? And this is a bull trend. There's no doubt on the higher time frame this is a bull trend, because the 20-month moving average has been flipped from resistance to support, and we got really close to back testing it. And right now it looks like it wants to grab it up to the upper Bollinger Band. It looks like it just wants to potentially just keep on going higher. The other question is whether or not we had a resistance zone that we need to be worried about. The answer is yes, we are. We're at the 0.5 FIB level, right? We are at resistance, and when we're at resistance, we're supposed to be a little bit scared and not, ape in. You also got rejected over here, sometime in 2023. So yeah, if it runs away from me, so be it. But I probably won't buy here. I'll probably buy if it ends up coming back down and back test some of the stuff down below. If it comes back to the Ichimoku cloud, which is going to be 0.382, around 2.77, that's going to be your risk level downwards. That's going to be a good buy. If it ends up finding support at 0.5 and push up, it's $7.04. That's going to be your upside risk, right? I don't know which direction it's going to go. There's no way for me to tell. There's no way for anybody to tell. So you just know what it is. It's a higher high and higher low situation. I think it's a hold. If you bought down here, it's a hold, right? And I wouldn't sell here because it could go up higher, but I also wouldn't buy because it could go down further. I would buy a lot more maybe if it goes down here, and that's probably what I would do. But that's probably what I would end up doing for a stock like this. I have somebody asking about Rocket. Rocket was a pretty hot stock. People talk a lot about this when it first IPO'd, and it just plummeted down. So far, it's been forming higher highs and higher lows, but it's been breaking down for months and months and months at a time. The question is, should you be scared here at this higher low compared to that? The answer is, I don't know. Let's look at it. It did break down underneath the 20-month moving average. It did have a Marubasu candle, which tells me I think next month's probably going to end up, if we end up closing this month like this, next month's probably end up going down a little bit more. And it's not necessarily showing sign for like a true bottom quite just yet. The lower Bollinger Band here on the weekly continues to go down, and there's increased volume over the last 3 weeks. This is a really, really hard stock to try to catch a bottom. I'm going to look into, I think higher time frame is favorable, but in the lower time frame, if you ask me where the bottom is at, it's really, really tough, right? I just don't have enough confirmation that it's bottoming. It could keep going down a lot lower, right? It broke through the Ichimoku cloud so far. Initially, you're hoping, you're going to have high volume slam into the Ichimoku. We'll see. If this week ends up closing that, it ends up stabilizing inside the cloud, maybe even come back up and touch the cloud, maybe there's a little sign of reversal. But right now, there's just no confirmation here at all, right? There is no bullish divergence that I'm picking up here. On the weekly time frame, on the daily time frame, I'm picking up some daily bullish divergences. We're probably just kind of slamming down like this, but you're starting to have increasing in RSI. But because the RSI is already down to the 20s, I just can't say that we've had any like local bottom here at this point. This is a really incredibly difficult chart to try to catch the bottom here. So one thing I would do, I'm going to pause this here real quick. One thing that I would do is look at the Gann chart here, and the Gann chart actually is showing some pretty incredible things here. And I did not expect to see this when I was looking at this, but I now that I see it, I can't really unsee it. There's a good possibility that it might end up bouncing here, right at this spot. I did the scan square here, 360 and 0.1. I'm going to show you 0.2 here in a little bit too. But if I just kind of zoom in, you can see how it's hitting a very confluent support zone over here. Very confluent support zone over here with the angle and the arc. If it ends up bouncing here, then that's just the magic of the Gann, I guess. If it doesn't, then it could just plummet through here and go down a lot lower. It's hard for me to know for sure. I'm going to change this to 0.2 to tell you why I think that there's maybe an area here that we might bottom here. 0.2 also give you some pretty decent market symmetry here, where price has been using this lower arc here as support, push through, it came back down, back test the angle, broke down, and right now we're just kind of sloping down here at the arc here. It can keep sloping down, right? There's no guarantee that we're bottomed, but I think the 0.1 was really giving me some like pretty. It's giving me some second thought in terms of whether or not it's bottomed or not. I wouldn't just buy it just based on that, right? Because you have other indicators that are basically just not favorable yet at this point. I would, if because of this, I would end up holding here. I would not buy, and the time to sell is probably long gone. So as it keeps on going down, I think the risk-reward ratio skews towards buy. But right now, it's just not that favorable right now, with the exception again chart over here, which is exceptionally if it ends up holding here. I think it would be exceptional if we end up like timing the bottom over here for Rocket. The couple other charts here, Beam. Somebody asked me about Beam. I gotta say, like all these biotech stocks, it's really tough to chart. The reason why is because they are all just kind of slow in terms of their recovery. Like Beam here is looking pretty decent, right? The 20-month moving average has been negative sloping here, but it's turning more positive sloping here. I actually think that Beam has a good chance to have a pretty decent recovery here. I think if Beam is able to hold where it's at right now, it can go up to upper Bollinger Band here in Q1 to like $36, which is not, which is a lot of gains from like the high 20s to like the mid 30s. It's a lot of gains. I do think the trend is changing here, and I do think that the bottom is being formed here. And I do find this favorable. The Tenkan here is being flipped from resistance here to support, right? You see what I'm talking about. I think NC price going down to like $36, which is where the Kijun is at right now. Right? There's a lot of sign here kind of tell me that that's going to happen. Now, higher time frame on the longer term, you can see it also is getting above a little bit about the 0.236 fit level here. It could hit like 36, right? 37, even wick to 37.8, which is going to be at 0.382. You're probably going to get up rejected up here because you have a lot of different resistance levels up above, right? But you also are getting at the support level here, so I think it's a good area to maybe buy, and up here maybe a good area to sell if you're into the whole like trading thing. I don't think it's going to push to 0.382 like butter. I think it's probably going to get rejected here. It's probably going to have to come back down and find some support maybe in like 30. Maybe we'll see how the technicals look at from there on out. But right now I'm favorable to maybe buy here, to anticipate maybe getting resistance up here around 36. It could break down. It could break down because of both these wicks over here. It could break down, but so far I'm more favorable on this than I'm not, based on just looking at what I'm looking at. I also like the volume so far. It looks pretty decent. So yeah, this is one that I actually don't mind maybe going in to be a little bit more patient and then see what it does. That's kind of what I think. Lastly, but not least, somebody asked me to look at DraftKings and do a Gantt chart and try to figure out what's doing right now. I was looking through like multiple ways to kind of try and get like a Gantt with decent market symmetry. This is probably the best symmetry that I can find. I did this from the recent bottom here, 360 and 0.2. On log scale, you can see how it got rejected here. The arc came back down and find support here. And over here is flipped the angle here from support zone to resistance, right? Which is the reason why you're having a hard time breaking through. The arc over here continues to be resistance. The angle here contributes to resistance. So that's why you're having this kind of weak reaction here. Understandable, because things have just been going parabolic up and it's just getting tired. It pushed through how many arcs here? 1, 2, 3, 4 to the fourth one, and then it just simply have to come back and back test the arc. And then this is no big deal, right? And then it's pushing back up here. This over here looks a little bit more like an accumulation type pattern. So I'm not really that scared by it. And right now price is a little bit underneath the bullish support band, but that doesn't really necessarily scare me. I think that price might end up breaking down underneath of here. Next thing you know, it just takes a little bit of a green candle, kind of push back up to challenge the arc over here again. Overall, if I don't use the Gantt, if I don't use the bullish support band, if I look at the Ichimoku, overall, I think this chart is favorable because it's hovering around the Ichimoku. As the Ichimoku goes up, price also goes up, but it's just kind of hugging the Ichimoku on its way up, right? So I still find this chart to be more or less favorable. It's just stuck inside the cloud right now. And if you're looking at the monthly here on the Ichimoku, it's also kind of trying to backtest the Tenkan over here. It's breaking down a little bit underneath of it, but it's also inside the cloud here. Like I don't have that much concern over this chart. It did end up coming back test the Kijun down here. Tenkan here was resistance, but you broke above of it and you're back testing it. I'm actually, this chart I'm actually still kind of favorable. I did sell out of it, and I did buy like CoinL and Coinbase with it, and I'm still in profits on those. While DraftKings did absolutely nothing. I just saw a little bit of lost momentum, and I saw some gain momentum on CoinL, so I ended up selling this and going to the other one. But so far, yeah, it's just doing kind of what you expect here. Big giant cup here, big giant handle, cup and handle. We're trying to break out here. What are we trying to do? Maybe we're trying to break out. Well, you look at like the lines here. I'm gonna get rid of this can here. I'm gonna get rid of the Ichimoku. It basically just backtests this lines almost perfectly, right? So right now, if you are just looking at the candle tops here, you're looking at just the candle tops here. You did have a little bit of a breakout of this kind of trend line here, although it's still working on its way up. Big giant cupping handle is still working on its way up, and there's still resistance levels here to get concerned about. The upper Bollinger Band up here is also going to be resistance level, but you also have a 20-month moving average that's coming up very, very nicely upward sloping, right? I don't think price is going to get below like $35, and I think once it gets there, it's going to be some pretty strong support level. You're getting closer to a lot of really strong support level here. 20-month moving average. You are challenging the Tenkan over here. So I think actually risk-reward ratio skews towards reward. Yeah, so risk-reward ratio here skews towards reward right now. I don't know how far this is going to end up pushing up immediately because it's still trying to build up its momentum. It's still stuck between 0.618 and 0.786. If you're able to break above the 0.786, then this parabolic bull trend can continue, right? And they know that. That's why they rejected here at 0.786. So we'll see. It might take some time to get there. Maybe Q1 we'll get back up there again. And when it gets back up there again, it's going to be resistance level there, so maybe be a little bit more cautious. But if it pushes through, then you're talking about, some all-time high stuff that can happen. It's simply just gone way too far, way too fast to a very important fit level. Got rejected, came back down, back to 0.618. There's nothing really scary about any of this, and to be honest, right? Because this is what Ethereum is basically doing right now. There's absolutely nothing like scary about it. If you're looking at this, is basically what like Ethereum's kind of doing. Right? Got rejected at 0.76, come back to 0.618, and it looks like it wants to just keep going higher. I'm not scared on DraftKings. I think the risk-reward ratio is going to be pretty favorable for DraftKings moving forward. That's all I gotta say. All right, take care. 10 stocks. Bye.